Because very likely, if you feel that way about others, you feel that way about yourself.
Yes.
So a fear of missing out is not really about a fear of missing out on a relationship with another person. It's a fear of missing out with some deeper, more intimate relationship with yourself. Welcome to the Weekly Transit, a podcast exploring the intersection of Western astrology and Jungian psychology. Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth, while psychology helps us navigate both conscious and unconscious experiences. Together, these tools offer the potential for self-understanding, growth, and transformation. Join astrologer Scott Tajarian and me, psychotherapist Gabriella Durso, as we dive into the cosmic forecast each week.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit. This is the week of August 26th to September 1st. The theme this week is open-hearted communication and balance. These are the themes because this week Mercury Retrograde ends in Leo. Leo's the sign that rules the heart. Mercury is the planet of communication. And then there is Venus, the planet of relationships, which transits into Libra, the sign that is symbolized by the scales, which represents balance. But before we get into the transits this week, we have an exciting announcement from Gabriella. Is there something you'd like to share with us, Gabriella?
I would. So speaking of open-hearted communication, it's a good segue.
Oh, cool.
I want to share about a new workshop that I'll be offering at the end of September.
Oh, wow. What's this?
Which is a really big step for me in starting to work with groups and exploring what that looks like. So
Tell us more.
I will be offering a workshop with a dear friend and colleague of mine. Her name is Pam Soffer. She also went to Pacifica. She's a depth ecotherapist.
What does that mean?
So she works with the relationship between humans and the earth.
Oh, wow.
In the way that the work that humans need to do is often reflected and mirrored in the health of the planet, essentially. So I see astrology in a way as a form of eco-psychology or ecotherapy, but instead of just the Earth, we're orienting towards all the planets and how they relate to the human experience.
Right.
So we will be offering a workshop called Messages from the Unconscious, and it's an introduction to dream work.
Love the title. Yeah. Okay, cool. Messages from the Unconscious.
Yes.
Okay. And it's an introduction to dream work.
Yes.
Okay. Is this in person? Is this online?
This is an online offering.
Okay.
So I'm excited to share it with everyone who listens to the podcast because anybody can join.
Doesn't matter where you are.
It doesn't matter where you are.
Excellent.
So this is an 8-week offering online. We'll be meeting Friday mornings at 10 a.m.
Pacific time.
So
do the math wherever you are if you're not in the Pacific time zone. Does that work for you? So Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
For 2 hours. Through Zoom.
And it's eight
weeks.
Classes, 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
8 weeks in a row. Okay.
So I'll be sharing more, including a outline of week by week for the workshop in a newsletter that'll be coming out next week.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the workshop.
So we're in the process of finalizing this language now, but the focus of the workshop is learning how to listen to and understand messages from the dream world. We'll be talking about how to relate to that wisdom through the body, through embodied experiences of dreaming, through the mind, through different ideas, ways of interpreting dreams individually and collectively, and then also through the wisdom of the soul. So what are our souls communicating to us through dreams. So we'll be looking at it through body, mind, and soul orientations, and really with a focus on how to integrate the messages and the wisdom. What can you take forward and distill from the dream space?
Sounds very useful, because dreams are powerful. They're not just random, right? There's something that we can learn from the dreams that we're having. When you think of you're sleeping for 6 to 8 hours a day, imagine if you can harness the information that's being funneled into you during that period of time in a way that supports you in your waking life, right? Is that what we're talking about here?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. And this is a workshop we're really gearing towards any level of experience for the dreamer.
Right.
So whether
you don't
you're
have to
someone
be an expert on dreams, like the whole reason to take the classes to learn more, right? So
absolutely.
It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I'm an advanced dream level person. Like, yeah, wherever you are, right?
Wherever you are in your practice. So I'm just referring to some notes here to make sure I cover some of the highlights I wanted to share today.
Do.
But we're going to be starting with some fundamentals. So how to invite dreams, how to record them and to share dreams, and sort of what does that look like in just your relationship with dreams.
Inviting dreams. Okay, cool.
Inviting
like
dreams.
That. Yes. Record and share dreams. Okay.
Yeah. When you record a dream, what are the most important elements to pay attention to write down? And then when you decide to share a dream, sort of what is that process like for you? So we're going to get some experience doing that in the workshop.
Okay.
Week 2 will be ways of knowing and connecting with wisdom through the body. Week 3, ways of knowing through the mind. Week 4, ways of knowing in the soul. And then the last 4 weeks will be dedicated to actually workshopping participants' dreams. So getting to actually bring dreams in.
Yes.
And especially...
And practice everything that you've learned in the first... 5 weeks, right? So you're learning
for the first 4 weeks. The first 4 weeks will be more kind of practical, hands-on learning, but also we're really looking for participants who want to contribute and share. We're hoping for it to be a really collaborative learning space.
Right.
So there will be parts of it that feel a little more formal, kind of teaching from Pam and I will be sharing, but also wanting to really make it a collaborative
with
voice
the students.
With the
students. So the first 4 weeks is you're teaching, then the last 4 weeks you're helping the students implement what they've been taught into their dreams and sharing their dreams. And so it's not like you just teach them and then send them off. You're actually teaching them and then showing them by workshopping their dreams in the class the last 4 weeks.
Yes.
So it's very interactive.
It's very interactive. And what I want to say too about the teaching portion is that Pam and I both feel really connected to teaching environments in and of themselves that are collaborative. And so wanting to hear from participants too, how do you imagine inviting dreams? And do you have processes that work for you, and really connecting with the wisdom of the group as well? So looking for those who feel drawn to that kind of an environment.
And how big is the group? Is there a size that the workshop's going to be?
Yes, so we're hoping to limit it to 8 participants.
Okay, so it's very intimate.
It's very intimate.
Yep.
So everyone has a chance to share a dream and to really have that experience of being held in the container and to really create a little capsule community. And if we have more interest than we can accommodate, then we're considering adding a second time slot as well.
Okay. So if the first 8 fill up, then there might be a second class that you'll be offering. So
Potentially.
yes.
So if you're out here listening and feeling really excited about the workshop, but maybe that time doesn't work for you, I'd love to hear from you, because there is possibility for adding a second group.
Right. So people should reach out to you if they're interested, but the time doesn't work, and when they would be available to potentially do a workshop. Because if you get a number of people that say they're available at a certain time, you might do a second workshop.
Absolutely. And we are interested in having this be an ongoing workshop anyway. So even if you know that this time doesn't work for you, or maybe just this season of life doesn't work for you, I encourage you to reach out to me. I will be providing a link in the show notes for today with a way to get added to my newsletter.
Okay, and that's the best way for people to stay in touch, is to sign up through your newsletter, which is via your website. We'll put the link to the newsletter in the show notes.
Yes, sign up for the newsletter. You can also send me a direct message too. A direct email would probably be the best way to connect. And if you have curiosity about maybe a second time, so you can sign up generally for the newsletter to just be informed about any updates going forward and more information once this workshop is formally announced. But also feel free to email me directly if you're interested in this workshop, but in an alternative time.
And that email is hello@gabrielladurso.com?
Yes.
Okay. And so the workshop is not available for enrollment yet.
Not yet, but it will be next week.
Next week. Okay. And we'll announce that here. We'll let everyone know when they can enroll.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you, Gabriella.
And of course, if you have any questions too.
hello@gabrielladurso.com.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Say hello to Gabriella Durso.
Come say hello.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Gabriella.
Yeah, thank you.
Excited for you and Pam.
Very excited.
Yes, it's going to be fun for sure.
Yes, we're excited.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get into the week.
Okay.
This week is the first, well, I want to set the tone for this week because there are some transits that we concluded on last week that are still impacting this week. It really sets the tone for the early part of the week. That is Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination, the god of merchants and thieves, transiting retrograde through the fixed fire sign symbolized by the lion, Leo, forming a trine, a supportive aspect with Chiron, the wound, and the ancient wisdom which is unlocked through healing that wound, which is also transiting retrograde through the cardinal fire sign symbolized by the ram, Aries. This is happening at 23 degrees. This is a longer transit that formed an exact trine last Friday on August 23rd, but it's going to form an exact trine again next week on September 2nd. So that's next Monday. So this transit is kind of holding from August 19th to September 4th. And it's really supporting us in opening our hearts and communicating authentically, boldly, courageously. These are all descriptors of Leo and Aries: to be bold, to be courageous, to be authentic, to face your fears and insecurities. Let's just think about this week as being on fire. It's but it's a good thing. I think of it as like a cleansing thing. It's getting everything out that you need to get out. And if you're getting it out, then the people around you are getting it out, and you're taking it in and filtering it through, and then you're getting it out to them and they're filtering it through. It's like we need to clear the space right now. Mm-hmm. It's clearing the stagnation. It's like the Native Americans, they would do controlled burns in the forests because they understood that if you let it all stack up, all the dead needles and leaves, and that you don't burn it regularly, what's going to happen is eventually there's going to be a catastrophic fire. And so think of this as being a controlled burn. Focus in, hone in on what's in your heart and what is true to you, what's real and authentic to you. And it's a controlled burn to clear out that dead space, that stagnant energy, rather than letting it continue to pile up and then something catastrophic happens.
Well, the message in that is that we need that fire energy to honor the ending of cycles anyway. And so we can either initiate it ourselves or we can wait for it to come to us.
Yeah, exactly.
But either way,
it's happening.
Sometimes we have to let things burn to the ground.
Yes. I mean, the fire is going to come eventually, regardless. Mm-hmm. I mean, it clears out what's dead. It's better to do it on a regular basis, so that when it eventually happens, like you said, you're either going to it or it's coming to you. You want to go to it. You want to be the one that initiates, because if it's initiating with you, now you're in trouble.
So what is it that is burning?
Fear.
Insecurities. Okay.
Exactly. It's time to burn down your insecurities, your fear. Put your face out there. Put your heart forward. That's what this is about. In order to put your heart forward, in order to open your heart, it can be scary to open your heart. It can be intimidating to put your face out there. But it is what is needed right now, to open your heart, to put your face out there, to be confident, courageous, authentic. So you got to face your fears and insecurities in order to do that.
Which is really what I hear, and putting your face out there and opening your heart is facing the unknown. That it's a vulnerable experience to be out in the world and to be open and to be feeling any number of things that might be coming at you emotionally.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
And we open ourselves up. We open ourselves to positive experiences and love and connection and experiences with our authentic nature that feel really good. But at the same time, when you're open, you also might have experiences that are difficult.
Yes.
But in order to have those that strengthen you and fortify you, you also open up the possibility that there'll be experiences that don't feel like that too.
That's true.
So it's kind of, when you welcome the good, you might welcome some challenges as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's challenges to start this week, despite this supportive aspect between Mercury and Chiron, because the first transit of the week is the sun, the planet of light, life, and vitality, transiting through the mutable earth sign symbolized by the Virgin, Virgo, forming a square, a stressful aspect, with the moon, the planet of emotions, in the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins, Gemini. This is happening at 3 degrees on Monday, August 26th at 2:26 a.m. Pacific time. This is where you look up in the sky and you see the half moon. And before we get too deep into this transit, I want to highlight my moon cycle classes, which are starting this week. So if you're listening right now and you want to learn about how this coming moon cycle is going to be affecting you, which is going to be concluded with the lunar eclipse in Pisces, but begins with the new moon in Virgo, which happens next week. This is what the class is going to be all about. We're going to talk about the new moon in Virgo and the lunar eclipse in Pisces and how that is affecting you directly, as well as what you can do to work with the energy to your benefit. You can enroll at theweeklytransit.com. And like Gabriella's workshop, my classes are very small. They're usually about 8 to 12 people. We max out at 12, but usually it's less than 8. So if you want that hands-on approach to look at your chart and to learn about the language of astrology and how you can utilize this ancient language to support you. It's a great class to really learn the basics and through the other people in the class, because we're looking at everyone's charts. And that's part of the fun. I really love the group dynamic because you learn so much from other people as opposed to the one-on-one. You learn one-on-one, yes, that's great too, but the group really opens up a lot more, I think, in some different areas where you're able to see yourself outside of yourself.
Absolutely. Well, and it's always so interesting to me to see how the unconscious works, even in sort of the happenstance of who comes to each group.
Totally.
Because there's always really powerful, interesting connections that happen. So that's just fun.
Exactly. One of the things that I do when we open the moon cycle class, the first class, I always have everyone in the class introduce themselves. I say, tell me who you are, where you are, and what you are. And what you are being, what is your primal triad, which is the most recognizable traits of your personality. Everybody shares their primal triad. This is the sun, the moon, and the rising sign. And then what you see is how everyone in the class is reflecting each other. This person has the same moon sign as that person's rising sign, and that person's rising sign is the same as that person's sun sign, and so on and so forth. But it's even beyond that, where you see like, wow, we're all Venus in Scorpio, or we're all Venus in the third house. You see these connections, and that is how you learn from others, because you see yourself in them, and they say something, you're like, wow, I really resonate with that. But then you hear it from them in a different perspective, which helps you learn something about yourself.
So powerful.
Yes. And so this half moon, which is tension between the light and the dark, you see the moon, it's split in half of it's light, half of it's dark. Virgo is the light. This is the energy of where the sun is, and the moon is that Gemini energy. That's maybe where the dark half is, but or the more unconscious, as you say. But it's interesting because the moon is in the sign of the conscious. So it's like, well, what is it about my unconscious that I'm becoming conscious of? You think of the sun in Virgo, and Virgo really hones in on the details. The sun is bringing light, life, and vitality to your daily routine, your health, your diet, your job, the structure of your daily existence. So we're taking a detailed analytical look at our daily life and how we take care of ourselves and how we're of service to others. But then the moon in Gemini is saying, but what else can you learn? What else can I learn from another person? What questions can I ask in order to maybe learn more about how I'm living my daily life? Well, this is what I eat for breakfast. What do you eat for breakfast? And maybe they give you an answer that kind of throws you off and makes you second guess yourself in some way. So that might be where some of the tension is. But there's still value in listening and learning from others.
Well, and we have to remember too that what we're conscious of affects our unconscious. It's not just our unconscious contents being integrated into consciousness. It actually works in both directions, as energy does, right? Energy is moving in all directions at all times. So I wonder if part of what's being highlighted is the way that our consciousness, how we interact in daily life, is affecting our own unconscious material. For sure.
And I'm going to get deep in that area a little bit later, because there's another transit later in the week that's really going to touch on the unconscious.
Okay.
And I've got some interesting reflections and questions regarding that.
Okay.
But let's move on to the next transit, which is Venus, Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, also transiting through Virgo forming a trine, a supportive aspect with Uranus, the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution, rebellion, innovation, independence, and the unexpected, transiting through the fixed earth signs symbolized by the bull, Taurus. When you look at these two symbols, Venus and Uranus, they look a lot alike. Venus is a circle of spirit on top of a cross of matter. Uranus is a cross of matter on top of a circle of spirit, but also has a crescent of receptivity on either side of the cross of matter. So Uranus sort of represents what makes your senses or your likes and dislikes different from everyone else, what makes you unique. These are coming together into earth signs, so there is support here. It's like through this transit, which is happening at 27 degrees and occurs from Sunday to Wednesday, August 25th to the 28th, with the exact trine happening on Tuesday, August 27th. It's supporting us to take a detailed look, an analytical look at our relationships, and maybe integrate something about ourselves that's radically different from our partner to the relationship. It's like, oh, I realize that they might be accepting of me in this sort of nonconformist perspective that I have. I'm ready to share this. It's like we've cleared out areas of our relationship that are no longer serving us. And now we're ready to bring in something radically different that is going to bring about a greater sense of independence, not only for me, but for my lover, my friend, my business partner.
So is this something unique and different that you've always known about yourself but concealed, or is this a new insight?
It could be both.
Okay.
I would think it could be both. Sure. You know, as you're cleaning house, which is what we've been doing in our relationships in terms of Venus and Virgo, you're cleaning house, you might come across something that, oh, wow, I didn't even know I had this. What is this? So that might be something new, or maybe it's something that you've been hiding and you just rediscovered it. And you're like, you know what? I kind of want to bring this out of storage and put it back into the main part of the house where everyone can see it. Who knows? But it's up to you to decide and your partner and to discuss and find that balance between, oh, that's a little too out there for me. Oh, really? Because you're doing something that's a little out there for me. So are we going to eliminate that part? Or if you're going to do something that's very out there for you, then you need to be accepting of what's out there for me so that we can both feel independent and not restricted by one another.
Right. Independence. And I'm also hearing the word freedom too. Like just the freedom to express maybe those unconventional parts of us and that there's really an opportunity to be accepted.
Yes, exactly. Open up in a way that's tangible, literal, grounded with this earth energy of Virgo and Taurus aligning together. Then as we move to Wednesday, August 28th, that's when Mercury goes direct. So all of this is happening as we're in this, 10-car pileup on the freeway where Mercury is coming to a halt. And here we are on Wednesday when Mercury stops at 21 degrees in Leo and begins moving direct. Mercury doesn't move out of its retrograde shadow until September 11th when it reaches 4 degrees of Virgo. So really take your time midweek to slow down and think about the details of your daily life, your values, what you need to feel free, to open your heart, to enjoy yourself. We don't need to rush. We don't need to be impatient. That's not what we want to do here, is to be impatient. We want to actually slow down and take our time and think about what has happened for me in my life since July 16th when Mercury moved into its retrograde shadow, because that's where Mercury is right now. On August 28th, Mercury is exactly where it was on July 16th. So what has changed from my life from July 16th to August 28th? And where do I want things to be in terms of my life? by the time I get to September 11th, because on September 11th, Mercury will be right where it was on August 4th when the retrograde began.
And do you imagine that people are noticing that things have changed or they haven't changed?
I would think that if you really take a look at it, things have changed. Something shifted.
Okay.
But you have to be mindful of it. Mercury is the planet of the mind. Are you conscious? Are you awake? Or are you oblivious to what's happening in your life? Nothing has changed in 6 weeks. I would think something has shifted. But maybe if you don't keep a journal but go back and look over your text messages. You know, we all kind of keep these journals that we don't even know that we're keeping. It's called text messages, emails. We're doing a lot of written correspondence. Your social media posts, your photographs in your phone. That's going to take you back to what was going on in your life on July 16th.
Well, so something has changed in 6 weeks, but also something is coming back to mark that change, Mercury, in the same location.
Yes.
And maybe highlighting the changes that have been made, and then, as you mentioned, kind of what's next.
Exactly.
Marking the passage of time.
Yes. That's it.
Okay.
Yes. So that brings us to this next transit where I want to go back to what you were talking about, how the conscious influences the unconscious, because this next transit involves Venus, again, transiting through Virgo. It's at the final degree, 29 degrees of Virgo, forming an opposition to Neptune, the god of fresh water and the sea, the planet of illusion, deception, compassion, and intuition, transiting retrograde through the mutable water sign, symbolized by the fish, and ruled by Neptune, Pisces. So this transit is occurring from Monday to Thursday, August 26th to the 29th, with an exact opposition occurring on August 28th. This is the last time. The 13th time, the last of 13 times that Venus has formed an opposition to Neptune from Virgo, while Neptune has transited through Pisces since 2012. This has happened 13 times. And the next time this is going to happen is July of 2126. So this is the final time of our lifetime of anyone who's alive right now that they're going to experience the opposition of Venus in Virgo and Neptune in Pisces. So Virgo is ruled by Mercury. That's the planet of the conscious mind. And Neptune in Pisces, that's the unconscious. So there's tension here, like you like to say, tension of the opposites between the reality of your relationships and the fantasy. Now, I asked you yesterday when we were kind of prepping for this episode about when do you think our unconscious begins to be developed?
Well, and this is a great question that I'm not sure that we know the answer to. When you asked yesterday, I immediately thought in the womb, the moment of conception. But we also have to consider, often on this podcast, we're talking about the personal unconscious. So my unconscious versus your unconscious. But we also know that there is a collective unconscious, which was one of Jung's biggest contributions to the field of psychology. So Freud was talking about the unconscious first before Jung came on the scene, but Freud was talking about the personal unconscious, and Jung said, well, there's also a collective unconscious, meaning there is unconscious material that we are born into. There is an unconscious that exists before we come into contact with our own relationship with our own unconscious. And that's where archetypes come from. That's where shared sort of beliefs that we experience
Yes.
that we're born into. Like, what are the beliefs of what it's like to be a human being on Earth?
Okay.
Like, those are the
Yes.
things that are stored
Oh
in
my
our
God.
in our collective.
Yes.
So it depends. It depends which one you're talking about. But I think if you're talking about the personal unconscious, it's that moment where spirit meets matter, which is that point of conception, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know about kind of other belief systems out there, other people asking that question, but that's how I would answer it.
So you're saying that from your perspective and your belief, when consciousness meets matter,
When spirit meets matter,
when spirit meets matter, that is when the unconscious is brought to life. But then when somebody arrives out of the womb, is breathing the air, they are immersed in the collective unconscious, which affects their unconscious.
This is
It's
another
a theory.
Yeah,
It's a
this is
theory.
another great question. I mean, I would say that our collective unconscious, if you just want my opinion about it, that our collective unconscious is something that could even transcend Earth itself and could be something we have access to in between lifetimes.
I believe that for sure. I mean, I think it's pretty deep. And when you think of the Pisces energy, it's the deepest sign. It's the final sign. It carries the weight of the 11 previous signs. And here's Neptune at the final degree of Pisces, connecting with Venus at the final degree of Virgo for the final time until 2126.
It's wild.
So,
I mean, you could say that the contents in our collective unconscious actually draw souls to come and incarnate here, because there's an awareness of like,
now we're really getting deep.
Yeah, but if you think about it,
It makes sense.
Why do we come here?
Yes.
Because we want to learn the things that exist.
We need to learn.
That exist here in terms of belief systems and, you know, all of the energetic material that we're born into. You know that expression, like they're drinking the Kool-Aid, or like it's in the water. I think of those as those are great like metaphors for the collective unconscious.
Yeah, well, Pisces rules water.
You're born into certain ways of thinking and being, and that may or may not be in relationship with your conscious material at all.
And so that brings me to another question or insight, because I have kind of an interesting story. After we had this discussion, I had a song pop into my from my unconscious to my conscious. Why am I thinking about this song right now? Why is this melody going through my mind? Pisces rules water. Pisces rules music. Pisces rules the unconscious. And this often happens to me, where songs from my childhood will just start playing in my mind. And
well, I was just going to interject that I think those songs that become like phenomenons, that songs that become like pivotal to a generation or become classics, there's likely some collective unconscious material or belief or something in that song that allows it to speak so deeply to so many people.
yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the question. What came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, is it the song programming the people to feel a certain way, or is it the feeling of the people that create the song? And when you think of this song, like when I was a kid, when I was a child, every night as I was going to sleep, I would listen to K-Joy FM 99, which is kind of a strange name for the station, because really when you listen to the music on the station, there's not a whole lot about it that's joyous. There's a lot of longing and loneliness and heartache and pain and suffering, but it's to this melodic tones that was easy for me to fall asleep. And I had this clock radio. If you watch the movie Back to the Future, which was like my favorite movie growing up, love that movie. I was so excited when I saw that Marty McFly, Michael J. Fox's character, wakes up in the morning and he has the exact same clock radio as me. I was like,
oh,
wow,
really?
Oh my God, I got the same clock radio as Marty McFly. That thing would go on. I would have that. It would go on in the morning for my alarm, just the music. And there would be a timer you would set so it would be on at night as I went to sleep. And the song that came into my mind yesterday, I'm like, why am I singing this song? It's by Samantha Song, who collaborated with the Bee Gees. They're both Australian. And the song's called Emotion. And it's like, you listen to this song and it's like this song from the 70s. It came out in 1977. I was 1-2 years old, and it probably played for me several years after that on K-Joy, on their mix. They're one of their regular songs. I went and I looked up the lyrics. And the lyrics are, "It's over and done, but the heartache lives on inside. And who is the one you're clinging to instead of me tonight? And where are you now that I need you? Tears on my pillow, wherever you go. Cry me a river that leads to your ocean. But you will never see me fall apart. In the words of a broken heart, it's just emotion that's taking me over, tied up in sorrow, lost in my soul.
Whew.
But if you don't come back, come home to me, darling, you will know that there'll be nobody left in this world to hold me tight, nobody left in this world to kiss goodnight. Good night."
This is like a Scorpio theme song.
That's what was being programmed into my unconscious.
Oh my goodness.
At a young boy, a young child. And then
It's heavy.
so I went and I looked and I was like, is K-Joy still around? And I look up K-Joy FM 99 and it's still there. And what is the song they're playing? Not Emotion, but another song that I distinctly remember waking up to. I was probably, let's see, I think it came out in 1985, 86. I was probably about 10, 11 years old. And it was the song that came on my alarm. I had a soccer game that morning, I remember distinctly. And I heard this song and I instantly loved it. It was Wake Me Up by Wham, which is George Michael's band before he was solo George Michael. And I went and looked at the lyrics to that, and I said, and I was like, wow, okay, so they're still playing music from my childhood on this K-Joy FM 99. It's still in the rotation. And I won't read the whole lyrics from this song, but it's basically somebody saying that, hey, like, I really love hanging out with you, and I heard you went out last night without me. I was asleep and you didn't wake me up. It's like a longing that I missed out on a good time.
Yeah.
Because you went out and had a good time and I have fun with you.
It's FOMO.
It's FOMO. It's straight up FOMO. And I was like, wow, are they just continually playing these old songs? But I hung on for the next song, and the next song was a newer song by Harry Styles called As It Was. And I looked at the lyrics for that, and it's another song, even though it's a new song, it's a song about longing and loneliness. And I'm just like, wow, this is what we're being programmed to over and over again. And we're taking it into our relationships. And so when you think of Venus opposing Neptune, maybe this is an opportunity. This is the 13th time this has happened since 2012. Like, the universe has been trying to wake us up from our slumber here and say, you don't need to have those longing emotions in your relationship frequencies. You can eliminate them. They're not serving you. so that you can open your heart, be bold, be courageous, and say, this is who I am. You can love me or not, but I'm going to be okay. And you're going to be okay.
You know what I like doing with some of these really dramatic songs is think about, instead of the lyrics existing between you and another person, think of the lyrics as existing between you and you.
Yes, exactly. You and yourself.
You and yourself.
Yes, that's it.
Because very likely, if you feel that way about others, you feel that way about yourself.
Yes.
So a fear of missing out is not really about a fear of missing out on a relationship with another person. It's a fear of missing out with some deeper, more intimate relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's so well put. So well put. It's about loving yourself and appreciating yourself, and that you, maybe it's up to you to have fun with yourself. And if you're having fun with yourself, then if anyone else comes in, it's a bonus. It's not like you're missing out on something. It's the cherry on top of the ice cream. Like the ice cream is the thing. Like you want the ice cream. You're not just going to eat the cherry, or you might eat the cherry every now and then, but the ice cream is really what you want. And the cherry is like that extra little bit. The ice cream is still amazing without the cherry. The cherry makes it a little bit better, but you're not really missing out if it's not there.
I think that when these songs have charge, like the answer is not always to like turn them off. I mean, sometimes yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes yes. Like stop listening to music that's making you feel in a way that's not working for you. But also, if there is a pull towards it, how is it about you? How can you hear the message in another way that can help you get what you need from it, so that you don't have to continue listening to it?
Well, I think that's where the consciousness comes in.
Exactly.
So like I went back and I listened to all these songs. I'd never heard As It Was by Harry Styles. I'd never heard that song.
You're coming to it from a different perspective.
I went back and I listened to Emotion. I listened to Wake Me Up, and I'm laughing listening to these songs and reading the lyrics.
You were laughing the other night.
That was last night. That's
in the other room by yourself.
Yes, that's what I was laughing about.
I just kind of let you run with that. I'm like, oh, he's having an insight.
Yeah, no, it was, I was like, wow, oh my God. And I was just there with my younger self, like little Scott, feeling sad and lonely in his twin bed, and, not even old enough to know what it's like to be lonely, but feeling that because I'm so empathic and I'm listening to the sorrow from these people that are singing, and feeling that it was fun. So I'm going to put links to these songs. If you're younger and you don't know Emotion or Wake Me Up, the songs are going to be there for you. If you're older like me and you don't know As It Was by Harry Styles, I'm going to put those links in the show notes so you can listen to them and get a sense of how music works, because it really draws you in. And when you're asleep and unconscious, it can control you in a way, but when you're awake, it can empower you.
Yeah, powerful lessons.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. That leads us into our next transit, which is Venus again, which the day after, it makes that exact opposition to Neptune. It transits into Libra, the cardinal air sign, symbolized by the scales and ruled by Venus. So Venus transiting through the sign that it rules in a position of power from August 29th to September 22nd. The last time Venus transited through Libra was November 8th to December 4th, 2023. The time before that was September 29th to October 23rd, 2022. So think back to those dates for clues on what could be in store for you this time around as Venus transits through the sign that it rules, Libra. Because Libra is cardinal air, this could create tension for those that were born with key astrological points or planets in Cancer, which is cardinal water, or Capricorn, which is cardinal earth. They're cardinal like Libra, but the earth and water energy doesn't mix with the air energy of Libra. So there could be tension coming up for you in terms of your relationships. Just work with the tension. On the day, work with the tension mindfully. I don't just mean to brush that aside. We all have tension in relationships. So it's about being aware. With Venus transiting through Libra, you want to be aware of the give and take in your relationships. What am I giving? What am I getting? Does it feel balanced? Does it feel fair? Do I need to renegotiate what I'm getting out of this relationship? It might be a time to reopen negotiations in your present relationships or in any new relationships that you may be developing. The day that Venus transits into Libra, it forms a trine, which is a supportive aspect with Pluto, the god of death, lord of the underworld, the planet of transformation, transiting retrograde through the fixed air sign symbolized by the water bearer Aquarius. This is occurring from Wednesday to Saturday, August 28th to the 31st, with the exact trine occurring right when Venus transits into Libra. So it's not only encouraging you to create balance in your close personal relationships, but to also transform your relationship to the collective. And when you think about that collective unconscious, we're waking up. Wake me up. George Michael saying, wake me up. We're waking up here with Venus in Virgo opposing Neptune in Pisces. And then the next day, we're transforming our relationship to the collective.
Well, this part about balance in relationships, I think, is so important because most relationship issues come from some sort of experience of an imbalance. So it's really asking us to look kind of fundamentally at whether or not we're in right relationship with one another.
Exactly. And it's a gift to have Venus transiting through Libra because it's going to soften that area a little bit and allow you to see things from the other side, but also give you the charm and the sense of beauty that you need to impose your will upon somebody to get your way. It's like, I just think of, the feminine nature at its height is where you're able to get your way by being charming. It's, the masculine way is by forcing somebody to do it, intimidation or encouragement if you're using the higher frequency. But the higher frequency of Venus in Libra is to charm somebody and to be kind and sweet. And I just think of when I was working in publicity and Monica Bellucci asked me to get her a cappuccino, and she was just like, baby, can you get me a cappuccino? And I was just like...
And you came back with 75 cappuccinos.
Exactly. I'm like, whatever you want, absolutely. You want me to get you a cappuccino? You want me to murder somebody? You asked me like that.
Give me a list.
Exactly. I'm just like, this woman knows how to get her way because she's a Libra. And so, she has that ability to just ask somebody in a way that is so non-threatening, but so charming that it makes you want to do it. And so we're all getting that sort of lesson or being given that assistance right now with Venus transiting through Libra. And hopefully it calms things down in terms of the collective a little bit, at least, until September 22nd. Hopefully that brings some peace and harmony to the collective as we transform and we start to see things from the other side. How can we work together? What do you want? What do you want from me? How can I help you? How can you help me?
Well, it's so interesting that when we think about being equals in a relationship, I think most people would say that that sounds really ideal and feels really good sort of in theory. But what's interesting about it is in so many relationships, especially romantic relationships, but even often in friendships or other dynamics, there's a tendency to take on parental roles with one another. There's a tendency for things to be really unequal, sort of as our default. Because we know that so often what we're playing out, for example, in romantic relationships, are on some level what our relationship with our parents was like,
Totally.
which was not equal. So it's like we have this sort of feeling that equality is like what we all need to get to, that sounds like sort of the ideal, this perfect thing. But in reality, we tend to be drawn to relationships where that's not the case because there's something to work out. So equality being the goal, but that's often not where many of us are.
No. Yes.
So it's just interesting to note how, I don't know if this will come up for anyone this week, but maybe part of that sort of what's becoming conscious is the way that things have been unequal in relationships. And perhaps there is maybe a parental dynamic at play where either you're the one being the parent in the relationship, or you're the one being the child in the relationship and expecting. Oftentimes we expect our romantic partners to balance things for us from our childhood or from our other relationships. And so it becomes this really soupy, kind of a messy thing, because you're no longer really thinking about the balance and equality between two people. You start to, unconsciously expect your partner to balance something from you that you missed from your childhood. And then the partner ends up feeling like they have to do something. Yeah. Like meet an expectation to balance something for you that has nothing to do with them. So I feel like this is, I can see it having like a ripple effect in terms of consciousness and awareness about sort of how the spider web of relationships and equality is interconnected.
Absolutely. And when you think about Venus, or when you think about the sun in Virgo, there's that really analytical side that's helping us take a look at how am I living my daily life with my friend, my lover, my business partner. Does this feel fair?
Yes.
It's going to be coming up right now. And especially with the sun in Virgo, for those born with key planets or points in Gemini and Sagittarius. There may be, for those born with key astrological points in Gemini or Sagittarius, they may find that they're feeling like they're getting nitpicked a little more than they would like to be. But because of that is going to bring up that awareness within them to rebalance the scales.
Well, and it's going to be harder for the people who are maybe receiving more than their fair share to speak up too, but they also need to do so and say, I've actually been taking too much from you.
Exactly. You think I'm not giving you? Oh, right. Yes. You're right. I've been taking too much. I need to carry my weight a little bit more. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just pointing out that
I'm just like, wow, that's very evolved. Like if you're in a relationship where someone says, you're right, I need to do more. You've been doing too much. Let me take this off of your plate.
Well,
that sounds glorious.
Yeah. Well, I think we all know, like for our listeners, if you're someone who has been asking your partner to overcompensate for something that you didn't get from your childhood, for example, that's happening. And so my point is that there's responsibility on both sides, not just the person who's getting squeezed, but the person maybe who has a little too much room to also be willing to notice that maybe that's not benefiting you in the way that you think.
Yes.
So it could be harder for those people on that side of the equation to admit, yeah, maybe I have been taking more than my fair share. So food for thought.
For sure. Yes. Love it. Wow. Awesome. 2 final transits as we close out the week. One planet going retrograde, the other planet going retrograde into a new sign. First is Uranus, which we highlighted earlier in its alignment with Venus, is beginning its retrograde transit through Taurus at 27 degrees on Sunday, September 1st. On that same day, Pluto, which we just talked about, transits back retrograde into Capricorn on Sunday, September 1st. Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign symbolized by the goat. So Uranus transited into its retrograde shadow all the way back on May 15th of this year. Uranus will end its retrograde transit on January 30th of next year. So to put that in perspective, where Uranus is on January 30th of next year is exactly where it was on May 15th of this year. And then Uranus moves out of its retrograde shadow on May 17th of next year. So where Uranus is right now on Sunday, September 1st is where it will be on May 17th of 2025. So from May 15th of 2024 to May 17th of 2025, Uranus is crossing through the same part of the sky, which is 23 degrees in Taurus to 27 degrees and back. It's just 4 degrees. So I really encourage you to take a look at your astrological code. What is at near to 23 to 27 degrees in earth signs, water signs, or fixed signs? Whatever is at one of those points between 23 and 24 degrees is getting the experience of a revolution. Or maybe you're needing greater independence. So an example would be if you were born with the moon at 26 degrees in Leo, then you're going through a revolution of your home life and your sense of independence to your home. If you were born with Venus at 24 degrees in Cancer, then you're going through a revolution of your relationship energy in order to have greater independence in your relationships. So there's plenty of time here to work through this revolution, this shift, this evolution of whatever it is you're going through. But in terms of the collective level, the collective perspective, we're talking about the revolution of your values, your likes and dislikes, your self-worth, so that you can have financial independence.
Is that also values and what you want to spend your money on?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Revolutionizing where you're spending your money. Revolutionizing how you're making your money based on the revolution of your senses, which influence what you like and what you don't like.
I also think some of this too is revolution around, like you said, how we're making money and how does that expand into like new career opportunities. I've talked about this a couple weeks ago, but you know, we used to have such limited fixed views on like what you could do for work. And really it was sort of what was available for you at universities, like to major in. And now I think we're seeing this expansion in just what is possible, especially in Los Angeles. There's so many interesting creative jobs here. I mean, you're a full-time successful astrologer, and that's not something that I think most people think of as a career that's available to them. Although if you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you know that that is available to you if you'd like it to be. But that's part of what I hear in this too, is a revolution around what is possible, not just for you personally in terms of spending with the income that you have, but what is it that brings you money in the first place?
So think of the 3 earth signs. The 3 earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Now, Capricorn's the cardinal sign, Taurus is the fixed sign, and Virgo is the mutable sign. But when you think about it in terms of the order of the signs, Taurus is the 2nd sign, Virgo's the 6th sign, and Capricorn's the 10th sign. And one builds on the other. It starts with Taurus, which is values. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Virgo then puts that into your practical daily life. Well, I want to do what I like and I don't want to do what I don't like. And that's what I create in terms of my job. And then Capricorn takes it to that next level, which says, this is what I want to achieve. My goals and ambitions based on what I'm doing each day, based on what I value. Now, when you think about Uranus transiting into Taurus, which was back in March of 2019, you talk about jobs and what's available for us collectively as work. Think about how different the jobs that are available to the collective today compared to where they were in early 2019. I wasn't working as a full-time professional astrologer.
Right.
But there's a lot of other jobs out there that people are doing. They're making a living doing certain jobs that didn't exist in 2019.
It's true. Well, we talked in this episode about Uranus, and I think of that as the energy of invention. And so
doing something
new
different.
consciousness emerging around how do you want to spend your time?
Exactly.
Where do you want your money to come from?
Think outside the box.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what Uranus is about. Being different, nonconformist.
Because so many people are unfulfilled with work, or maybe they do like the stability of a 9-to-5 job, but they don't really love that particular job. Like there might be a part of it that's working. So I think there's a lot of newness coming around work, and I think it's a lot of what we need.
Well, and I love that this is happening the same day as Pluto transiting back into Capricorn. This is a significant transit because this is the last time Pluto's going to be in Capricorn, and it's in Capricorn at the final degree of Capricorn, 29 degrees, very intense, from September 1st to November 19th. This is the last time that Pluto's going to be in Capricorn until February 27th, 2254. Pluto has been transiting through Capricorn. It moved into Capricorn. Let's do a refresh of Pluto in Capricorn. It transited into Capricorn on January 25th, 2008, and was there until June 13th. Then it transited back into Sagittarius. It moved into Capricorn for the long haul on November 26, 2008, and was there until March 23rd, 2023. Then it moved forward into Aquarius until June 11th, 2023, when it transited back into Capricorn, and it was in Capricorn from June 11th, 2023 until January 20th, 2024. Now, this is the last stretch of Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn is all about goals, ambitions, the legacy that you want to leave behind. What is worth your time? What is worth your work? That is what Capricorn is all about. Pluto is there to transform your relationship to authority. The whole goal of Pluto in Capricorn is that by the time Pluto transits out of Capricorn, the only person that I'm answering to is me. And if that's not your frequency, then maybe it's something you want to shift, because this whole period of Pluto and Capricorn has been a power grab.
Mm-hmm.
Either you're going to take responsibility for the power that has been bestowed to you, or someone or something else will for you.
Right. Whew.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering what's going to happen during this last stretch of about 2.5 months of Pluto in Capricorn at the final degree. It feels like there's going to be a lot of tension with regards to transformation of power and authority. Of course, the United States presidential election is occurring during this time. So what does that mean? I don't know. We'll see. But there's going to be a struggle and a fight for power. People are going to be clinging to power that maybe doesn't belong to them. Mm-hmm. So be clear about what belongs to you, what you are willing to take responsibility for, and the time and effort you need to put in to claim your power and empower yourself.
Love that. Okay.
Awesome. And we'll leave it there.
All right.
On that note, thank you to all of our listeners for your support and for listening, for being here. Gabriella, thank you for your wisdom. Excited about your workshop. Very proud of you putting that together. Excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you for your support and for your wisdom as well.
You're welcome.
And thank you to the listeners always for being here. We're so grateful to have you. And if I've piqued your interest with the Dream Workshop, I encourage you to look for the link to sign up for my newsletter and to stay in touch. I plan to offer more workshops and hopefully more ways to connect in the community in this upcoming year, and perhaps sharing some writing of mine or some general kind of thoughts and perspectives occasionally on the newsletter.
I'm excited for that because Gabriella is a beautiful writer.
Thank you.
Beautiful writer.
Thank you. So
yes.
I'm really feeling called and connected to share a bit more outside of this space. And so if that's intriguing to you, I invite you please to sign up for the newsletter, and would love to see and connect with all of you in a workshop. So look forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabriella.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the weekly transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any other transits may be affecting you, or if you're interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. If you're interested in delving into the world of psychotherapy with Gabriella, you can schedule a consultation with her at GabriellaDurso.com. That's GabriellaDurso.com. Support for the podcast can be done through a monthly contribution on Spotify, rating us 5 stars, subscribing to our channel on YouTube, or writing a favorable review on Apple Podcasts. We are grateful for your support. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog-Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.